Hello, and congratulations on being chosen to receive one of the $5,000 grants from the Tulare County Small Business COVID Relief Fund. My name is Nicola Whistler, and I am one of the team members who are working on this project. And I wanted to take just a minute to give you an overview of the agreement that you're about to sign with the County of Tulare. Now, I'm going to share my screen so that you can see what's going to be coming up once you click the link that DocuSign has sent you. Give me just a moment. Okay, so here is the agreement. Now, the first thing that you're going to see at the top of the agreement is a short cover letter. And in this cover letter, there are 3 sections. We want to make sure that you understand each section of the agreement, and it's broken into 3. So the first section is going to be eligibility requirements, and we'll go through that in just a moment. We'll then talk a little bit about the allowable expenses and the funding uses. And then we're also going to talk for just a few minutes about the record keeping and reporting requirements for this grant. So once you get a chance to read through the entire agreement, then you'll come back and you will initial each of these sections using the electronic signature provided to you through DocuSign. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to scroll down and you will see here's a very official looking agreement from the County of Tulare. So the agreement that you are entering into is on behalf of your business, which is the grantee, and this County of Tulare, which is going to be called County moving forward through this agreement. The first part of this official agreement is the recitals. This is really just a history of how the funds came to be and how we created the small business program that is granting these funds to you. The next section is terms. This is really where the meat of the agreement is, and most of these are pretty simple and straightforward. So the first thing to look at is that the terms of agreement is that this agreement is going to be good from the time you sign it until December 31st of 2025. So it is a 5-year agreement. The next one, number 2, is the amount. So everyone who's receiving a grant from this program is receiving a $5,000 grant. So you will be getting a check for $5,000 from the County of Tulare. Number 3, eligibility requirements. When you filled out your application, you were asked a number of eligibility questions, which you answered. And the way you answered them tells us that you are eligible for this grant funding. But we want to make sure that you understand some of the guidelines that are part of this grant. So first, you are telling us that this business is your primary source of income. You're also telling us that your business has been negatively impacted by COVID-19 and that you have all of the necessary license and permits in order to run your business. Lastly, we are going to ask you to take a look at 2 different exhibits, which really are just another fancy name for documents. At the very end of this agreement, you'll scroll down and you'll see Exhibit 1. Exhibit 1 is a copy of the application that you filled out along with your answers. And what we're going to do is when you sign this agreement, you are telling us that all of the answers that you put into that application are correct and true. Section E is telling us that you're going to look at the second exhibit. So at the very bottom of this document, there is an exhibit, which is the guidelines for this grant program. It lays out all of the eligibility requirements, all of the funding requirements, and all of the record keeping and reporting requirements. It's very important that you read that entire document so that you can understand what this agreement is really all about. So as I said before, it's a 5-year agreement. It's for $5,000, and these are the eligibility requirements that you say that your business has met. The next section is the funding uses. So we want to make sure that you understand that you are only allowed to use the funds on allowable costs, which are outlined in Exhibit 2. When you filled out the application, you were asked how you would spend the funding and given 3 options: business rent, business utilities, and COVID-related expenses. So when you described to us how you would spend the money, you told us that you would spend it on things that fall within those categories. We want to make sure that you understand those are the only things that you can spend the funding on. The last part, C, is also very important. You have until October 31st to spend the $5,000. If on October 31st you haven't spent the full $5,000, then you are going to be asked to return any of those unspent funds to the county. So you will have to write a check back to the county for any money that you don't spend. Okay, Section 5 is the last section of this agreement. What this is saying is that when you spend the money, you are going to provide, you are going to hold on to any receipts, purchase orders, invoices, or any other documentation that shows how you spent the funding. Then you are also going to provide that documentation up until by October 31st at the request of the county. So if the county gets a hold of you and asks you to provide those documents, you will provide those documents anytime after October 31st. And lastly, you're going to be asked to hold on to those documents for at least 5 years. So when you're doing your filing, make sure you put those in a file that you can access for the next 5 years easily. Okay, that's the entire agreement. It's pretty simple and pretty straightforward. At the end here, you will see the grantee information. This should all be pre-filled out for you. You might need to add some additional information, but it should all be filled out for you. And then down here at the bottom, the grantee signature. You're going to be asked to sign your name, to print your name, and then the title should already be filled out and the date should already be filled out for you. And that's it. Like we said, it's a pretty simple agreement. The nice thing about DocuSign is if you miss a section, if you forget to initial something or forget to sign it, it will remind you and send you back to that section. At the very bottom of this document, once you've read Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 2, at the very bottom there will be a link that says Submit. Once you submit it, it will be sent directly to the county for them to go ahead and sign for you, to sign also. Again, we just want to congratulate you on receiving this $5,000 grant. If you do have any questions about this agreement, please feel free to go to the Tulare-County-Relief.com website where you filled out your application. You can jump on the chat and one of our team members will be happy to answer questions for you. Again, congratulations, and we're happy to be able to provide this service for you.